All right, we're getting ready to spray face frame. We already got the gun dialed in. Just a recap of the adjustments. We have the air pressure here, then we have the air volume, then we have the fluid volume knob here, then we have the spray pattern. This goes from narrow to wide pattern, and then this cap changes it from a vertical to horizontal spray pattern. In this case, we want a vertical. We've got it all dialed in. We've tested it. It's good. We've got an even spray pattern. We're ready to go. Now, before we start spraying the face frame, we want to make sure that it's dusted off. So we already blew it off, wiped it off, and blew it off out in the shop. Last thing we want to do right before we spray it is blow it off again. So we're going to aim towards the exhaust fan. And blow it off. That gets rid of any dust that may have gotten on as we were transporting it, etc. So now we're ready to spray. Now we want to pay attention to sequencing. So we want to do the most important surface last, because as you're spraying, the overspray is going somewhere. And some of it is going to be going to where you already sprayed. So if we were to spray the faces first, then spray the edges, some of the overspray is going to be landing on that face, and it's going to cause it to be rough. We don't want that. We want this face to be glassy smooth. So we're going to spray the face of the face frame last to get the best finish. Now the rest of it, the edges, they're all kind of equal. You don't always have that, but face frames, there really isn't a priority on those. So we're going to just do a sequence where we don't forget an edge, which is particularly easy to do when you're spraying over with the same color. So we're going top coat over top coat. This is the last top coat, and so it's hard to see what's been sprayed. So we want to make sure we do a sequence where we're not missing any edges. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm spraying, I'm going to spray the same side all the way across the face frame, rotate it 90 degrees, and do the same thing. Every edge I need to spray from that angle and go all the way around with the edges. Then lastly, we're going to spray the face. Now, we got to be careful as we're spraying. We want to have good trigger control, want to keep the hose out of the way, and whenever possible, we want to be spraying towards the exhaust fan, not back, because we don't want the overspray to go this way and then come back through our finished piece. So we want to set up our turntable and rotate it so that we're spraying towards the exhaust fan all the time. That gets rid of our overspray, so there's no ambient dust or overspray in the air, keeps it all down, and we get a smooth finish. So trigger control, we want to make sure we're moving when we pull the trigger and then release. It's really easy to get puddles on these intersecting corners on face frames particularly. So we're going to start at the front and work back, because if we start here, now we have a wet edge and our hose can snag and we can rub on wet. So start with the furthest point back away from you and work your way back so you're finishing with the piece that's closest to you, which is the easiest to bump. Make sense? Okay, we don't need to do this. This is a false front, so we're not going to spray this. We just did primer on that. So we're just going to do the drawer openings here, and then this bottom and the top of the inside cabinet here. So here we go. Now we're going to rotate it 90 degrees and do the same thing over here. You can see how easy it is because you get really close over here. You actually have to, this goes against the principle of spraying, but you have to rotate a little bit, because if you just trying to trust your trigger finger, you get really, really close to this piece right here. It's really easy to puddle up. So at the end, you got to angle a little bit so you don't get too close over here and cause a puddle. So then we're just going to work our way back. So. And then this is a very important edge here. So I'm going to spray this straight on, or even a little bit underneath, because this is a furniture joint where a finished panel comes up, so this will actually show. So I'm going to spray it that way and then spray it straight so we get a good coat on that. We can look and make sure we got a good coat. Looks amazing. Okay, so now we're going to keep rotating it around. Oops, I'm breaking my own rule. Start farthest away, work back. We don't have to do the top, we don't have to do this because it's a false front. Again, now this meets up with another cabinet, so we don't have to do that. We just have this edge here, and then we have these edges here. Okay, now we go down to sequencing of the face. How do we do that? That's up to personal preference. You just want to do it in a way where you're not getting too much overlap. So again, have a, sure. Did what one? Oh, I didn't do this angle. I don't think so. On this edge? I think you're right. Thank you. Cut. So by having a system, you can catch when you mess up. Just like there, I didn't carry it all the way through, so I have this last one to hit, and now we're good. Okay, so I'm gonna also spray the underside of these real quick. This is the last, no, I already did that. I already sprayed the underside, never mind. No, I didn't. Let me spray the underside. Okay, so this is the last rotation here, starting farthest away from us. Okay, now what sequence I can touch this edge because this is a non-finished edge, so you only want to rotate it by finished edges or go underneath and grab the turntable. So what sequence do we want to actually spray the face in? That's a little bit of personal preference, but we want to do it in a systematic way so we know what we've done and where to feather. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to do a full pass here and a full pass here, because then we have 2 full coats here, and that's a no-go. So whether we do horizontals first or verticals first is up to you, but just remember what you do so you can feather it in. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna spray my verticals first, and then I'm gonna spray my horizontals. So here we go. I'm gonna widen up my fan pattern a little bit. What? Yeah, I will. I'm gonna test my fan pattern real quick, make sure I'm the width I want. I want it to be the width of a face frame so I can get it all in one pass. So I'm gonna start here at the top, and we'll probably do 2 passes, kind of aiming at the edge here and aiming at this edge, so we know we get an even coverage. So here we go. And we can see, look at it and see, okay, we're not heavy enough, so I'm gonna go a little bit slower, just 1 more pass over the center. All right, that's looking pretty good. So now we're gonna go to the next one, do the same thing. We wanna get a wet coat. We want it to look like a little bit of a golf ball surface. We don't want it to be like cottage cheese where it's super ripply, but if it's glassy smooth, we've gone too thick. So we want it to have that little bit of texture. That will flatten out perfectly, and that's the right amount. Okay, now we're going to the second one. Same thing, aim at the edge. Aim at the edge, and then do 1 more pass over the top. Just get it good. Now you can see here, we actually have a coat here. So we're gonna have to feather in, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Now we do the last edge, same thing. Aim at the edge, aim at the edge. And then double check, make sure you're good. Oh, it looks beautiful. Okay, now we've done all the verticals. Now we're gonna do the horizontals. And this is where we have to make sure and blend. Feather, I should say. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it towards me. And I'm breaking my rule a little bit. I'm starting over on this side. Well, I'm actually not. I'm gonna start here in the middle and work back, and I'm gonna rotate it around and do the same so I don't have to reach all the way across. Make sense? So we always want to pull the trigger as we're moving so we don't get a heavy spot, because if you're spraying along and you just start and then start to spray, you can get a really heavy spot there. So you need to make sure that you're moving when you start so it's even all the way across. So we want to actually, there's 2 stages to the trigger. There's the air, and then there's the actual product. So we're going to be spraying air, and then we spray the product, and then we're going to feather it out as we go so we get just the right amount. So here we go. And then 1 last coat. Okay, now we're going to rotate it around. You want to keep a wet edge. You want to work fast because this dries fast. We've probably already waited a little bit too long. All right. And we're done. It all looks good.